Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, welcome to this evening's debate. My name is Roger Schwartz. Good evening. Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Temple Shalom, welcome to this evening's debate. My name is Rodney Schlosser, and I'm the president of our congregation for 2018-19. We are delighted to be hosting this evening's program with the AJC, the American Jewish Committee, and the Jewish Latino Alliance. As some of you know, since our founding 53 years ago, Temple Shalom has worked to bring the community together, and tonight's gathering is a powerful and clear confirmation of our values that the best solutions are the result of an informed community, a healthy dialogue, and a big tent. Curious, by a show of hands, how many of you have not been in our building before this evening? Very good. Well, you'll especially appreciate this bit of advice. The bathrooms are at the very back.
Hey, we are.
And they are to the left in the hallway. We also ask that you take a moment now to silence your smartphones, and remind you that we will be simulcasting this evening's program. A few quick acknowledgments before we get started. As you came into the building and as you were in the parking lot, you know that we have a large group of volunteers who have been helping, and we thank them for registration, ushering, and other key roles. Special call out to our co-chairs for this evening, Mike Hirsch, Adam Lampert, Edward Retta, and Larry Schoenbrunn. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for your help. I want to introduce the Dallas City Council members who are here tonight: Sandy Grayson, Lee Kleinman. Not sure if Adam and Drew is here. Thank you, Sandy. Among other things, our two council members will help in bridging work and coordination with the Dallas Police Department, who are here tonight in force, and we thank them for helping keep tonight's gathering safe and orderly. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Temple Shalom Senior Rabbi Andrew Haley for a short invitation.
Welcome, my dear friends. We are honored to have you here tonight as we take this time for this important civic conversation. As we like to do here in our sacred space to get ready for sacred conversation, please, everybody, do me a favor, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. God of many names, Holy One of blessing, we hear your message. Justice, justice shall you pursue. God of freedom, we hear your charge. Proclaim liberty throughout the land. Inspire us through your teachings to love and uphold our precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, and a defender of dignity. Let us champion the values that make our nation a haven for the persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. May our actions reflect compassion for all people, within our borders and abroad. May our leaders embody the vision of our founders to form a more perfect union, to establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. To that end, source of all life, we pray that you will guide these candidates for office with righteousness. Strengthen their hearts that they may use their influence and authority to speak truth and act for justice. Oh God, give these men courage. Courage to be bold in action and deep in compassion. To uproot bigotry, intolerance, and discrimination. To celebrate the many faces of God reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity. Courage to welcome the stranger and to honor the gifts of those who seek refuge here. And most of all, God of compassion, give them the strength to declare that it is time to let justice well up like waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Haley, Rodney, and Temple Shalom. We're honored to partner with you to bring tonight's debate to the community. My name is Joel Schweitzer, and I serve as Regional Director for AJC, the American Jewish Committee. For 112 years, AJC has served as a global Jewish advocacy and human relations organization. A decade ago, AJC Dallas launched the Jewish Latino Alliance, a coalition of leaders from both communities that work united together to advance our common values and advocate on our shared concerns. Tonight's debate would not have been possible without our coalition partners from the Latino community, and we thank you. In addition to the 3 convening sponsors, we were joined by 12.5 community partners who helped get the word out, resulting in this capacity audience here at Temple Shalom. And we thank this broad range of organizations from the Jewish, Latino, Muslim communities, among others. A full listing of community partners is posted by the registration out front. One small bit of housekeeping: we anticipate wrapping up at about 8:45. We kindly ask everyone here to help us clear the building by 9 p.m. Thank you especially to both campaigns. We appreciate the opportunity to have Congressman Sessions and Mr. Allred join us to discuss their views on important issues of the day. We hope that each of you will listen critically, ask great questions by submitting cards to our volunteers, who I now ask to please raise your hands. In the back there. And I think Casey is still out front, but she's the one who's been really secretly running this whole thing. We'll recognize her. And most importantly, go out and vote, either on Election Day, Tuesday, November 6th, or during the early voting period, which runs from tomorrow through Friday, November 2nd. Please note, AJC, Temple Shalom, and the Jewish Latino Alliance are all nonpartisan organizations that neither endorse nor oppose candidates for office. We welcome those who are watching us tonight via Temple Shalom stream or on the AJC Dallas Facebook page. If you are watching us online, or if you are live tweeting or Facebooking or Instagramming or any other of those platforms that I may not know about, please use the hashtag TX32Debate, Texas32Debate. An archived stream will be available on the AJC Dallas Facebook page shortly after conclusion, and tomorrow in partnership with Temple Shalom at www.ajc.org/Dallas/TX32Debate. It is now my privilege to introduce our moderator. If you don't know him by name, you will surely recognize him by voice. Please join me in welcoming KERA's senior editor and host of Morning Edition, Sam Baker.
All right, first of all, let me see if I sound like myself. I was in route. Who won?
No.
We didn't. We didn't. We missed the field goal.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Oh. All right. So much for spoiler alerts. Let's see. I suspect you may have a little closer. Okay. How does that? Does that work for everyone? A little bit louder. Okay. We'll get that a little closer. Does it work?
That's better.
Okay. All right. We'll go through rules for this very quickly. I think you may have gone through it already. Boy, this is weird when I'm sitting here with an audience behind. But anyway, just a reminder, no applause during this debate, no booing. Listen to me, good boys and girls. I have questions of my own here on note cards that I'll go through for about 30 minutes. Following that, we will take questions from the audience, some of which I have now, but some of which you will pass along. And we'll sort those out and go through them as we go along, but we'll do that for about 30 minutes as well. We will have 3-minute opening statements from the candidates. Each question, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond, followed by a 90-second rebuttal. I'll also have a little leeway to allow a little more response if either one of you should need it. And then, of course, after that, I should also remind you, we will have a timekeeper here on either side, and they will give you 30-second warnings, 15-second warnings, and so on. And once we've gone through all of that, then we will have 2-minute closing statements for each candidate. So let's get underway with opening statements. I'm told we've all decided that Mr. Allred will begin with his opening statement.
Okay. Well, thank you so much to all the organizations who have made this important debate possible. Thank you all for coming out. For those of you who are joining on live stream, thank you, Rabbi Haley, for letting us use your home here. This is a deeply personal race for me, and it's so good to be back in Temple Shalom, where I've gone to many bar mitzvahs when I was growing up here in North Texas. And I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to be, and so proud to be running to represent my home here, where I was born and raised by a single mother who was a public school teacher. And when you're raised by a single parent, you rely sometimes more on the community. I think it might give you maybe a greater appreciation of the community. You know, I relied on good public schools, beginning at Pershing Elementary and going to Hillcrest High School. I relied on community organizations like the YMCA and JCC. There are so many people in this community, so many teachers, coaches, administrators, people who went above and beyond the call of duty to extend a helping hand to me. And were the reason why I was able to go to Baylor, become an NFL linebacker, become a civil rights lawyer, and to work for President Obama. And I want to make sure that the North Texas that I know is being represented in Washington, and that the values that I grew up with here are being represented. And that's why I've been so disappointed, and talked to so many other people about their disappointment, about some of the divisiveness that we've seen coming out of Washington. When there are neo-Nazis marching the streets chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and the president says there are good people on both sides. When children are being separated from their families at the border. When our government tries to ban entire religion from entering our country, I think that is pushing us further apart from each other at a time when we really should be trying to come together. The North Texas that I know believes we might have come here on different ships, but that we're in the same boat now, that we can work together, that we can move towards common goals, and that if you work hard and if you do the right things, you should be able to get ahead. That's why in Congress I will fight to make sure that no matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like, who you love, that you'll have your chance at chasing the American dream. I want to lower healthcare costs, invest in infrastructure, invest in job training programs, make sure that we're preparing our kids for the 21st century, protect critical programs like Social Security and Medicare, and make sure that who we are is being represented at a time when so many of our fundamental values are at stake. This election, to me, is the most important of our lifetime. There is more on the ballot than Democrats versus Republicans. There are our fundamental values of equality, justice, freedom, things that we put in our founding documents that we've been working towards as we try to perfect our union all these years, and that I think are at risk in this time. And so I am thankful for this opportunity to speak with you. I look forward to getting into some of these important issues with you this evening. And thank you so much for being engaged in our democracy.
Opening statement from Congressman Sessions.
Sam, thank you very much, and thank you for being here this evening. I'm joined by my wife, Karen. Thank you very much, Karen, for being here with me. What an honor it is to be among not only the people of the 32nd Congressional District, but really to be in such a strong temple that believes deeply not only in the attributes that were spoken about earlier about strong citizenship, but also strong community, strong strength in religion. It is a delight for me to be here with you, and an honor for me to tell you that I am seeking your vote tonight with a discussion with you that would be about what I think is about balance and opportunity. For the years that I've represented you, I've had an opportunity to earn this award each year from the Chamber of Commerce. It's called the Spirit of Enterprise Award. And this Spirit of Enterprise Award is given to those people who embody the ideas of supporting the U.S. Chamber on economic growth and the ability that we have to make sure that our country can not only pay its bills, but grow economically so that each and every American has an opportunity to better their life. Tonight, you are going to hear sharp differences, and it is, as Mr. Allred said, more than just Republican versus Democrat. In fact, it is so much more. It's the sharp differences that I would hope that we would get into tonight. And some of those sharp differences also revolve around what is some of the basics of this temple and the Jewish community in Dallas, Texas. A community that I have worked well with and understand, worked with not only their leaders, but also the members. And one of the most critical issues that we have worked on is understanding the Iranian threat against not just Israel, but against freedom and the United States of America. And just to show you kinds of sharp differences that we have, my opponent in his Dallas Morning News article stated that he was unequivocally opposed to any efforts to undermine the Iranian nuclear deal, and he decided to throw in, and he felt like that it could unravel the agreement against North Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is that this deal, what he was talking about was he was not for any demand for an anytime, anywhere inspection. He was for the Iranians, the people who shall shout death to America and death to Israel, giving them billions of dollars worth of cash for them to do as they would choose. And these are the kinds of differences, as opposed to Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo, who've negotiated what was some of the most difficult and interesting resolutions with North Korea. I stand on the side of keeping America and Americans and our ally Israel safe. Thank you.
Mr. Allred, would you like a little time to respond to that?
I would, and thank you for giving me a chance. The Iran deal was not perfect, and I acknowledge that. What it was a diplomatic solution to an extremely difficult problem, in which we have two choices: engage and try to go down the road of diplomacy with not only inspections and not just trusting, but certainly trust but verify with the ability to snap back sanctions at any time. I believe that it was the right thing to do to pursue diplomacy, as I'm sure Congressman Sessions is now supporting President Trump's efforts to pursue diplomacy with North Korea. We don't always make agreements with folks who we agree with on. And this, to me, what he mentioned there about opposing inspections is exactly not true. The Iran deal had inspections in it, and there's a crucial part of our participation in it. The Europeans, the Chinese, the Russians are still in the deal. But we have now given Iran license to pursue a nuclear weapon which will make Israel less safe. And I believe that is not in the American interest or in the interest of Israel. I think it was a mistake for the United States not to leave, to stay in this agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Allred. On the subject of health care, Congressman Sessions, your health care proposal eliminates mandates that were originally intended to bring in enough healthy people to satisfy insurers. Why would insurance companies prefer your plan?
Thank you very much. My health care plan that I worked on with healthcare professionals for some 18 months, independent physicians, nurses, and people who are engaged in the practice of medicine, worked on my bill, and that bill, which is supported by physicians all across the country, makes sure that we empower patients and those who can afford the opportunity to have health insurance. As you know, the bill that you're speaking of would have allowed the Affordable Care Act to stay as it is. Any person would be allowed to get that opportunity to stay in Obamacare. I am on Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. My price is double, my deductible's double. And the problems that we see in the marketplace is that we want every single patient to be able to have a same or similar plan, which is my plan, as you would find that an AT&T, a Mary Kay, a Southwest Airlines might have. And that is a plan that moves everyone up rather than everyone down. That would give everyone an opportunity to have a tax credit and an employer-provided opportunity and on group coverage basis. And this would be moving people to, I think, what they have asked for in this congressional district.
Mr. Orwell, before we go to you, well, just one quick question for you, Congressman. Does your plan cover pre-existing conditions? It doesn't say so on your website.
As a matter of fact, it does. Well, listen, I have a 24-year-old Down syndrome son. There is no Republican plan, never has been. As a matter of fact, we're for guaranteed issue where you can keep your health care. And this is an important attribute that is not being told the truth all across the country. Of course we allow that.
So, okay.
Well, this is a moment when I'm thankful for Google. Because you can Google what Congressman Sessions' voting record is on healthcare and what he has voted for specifically. I'm really not interested in some plan that he's put forward that has never gotten a vote in the Congress. I'm interested in what he has voted for. And what he's voted for is 50+ times to repeal the ACA and its protections for pre-existing conditions with no plan to replace it. We were one thumbs down from John McCain away from sitting here right now without those protections for pre-existing conditions because of the vote and the ability that Congressman Sessions used as the chairman of the Rules Committee to allow the AHCA to go through. That's how close we were to losing those protections. And I think that it is the height of cynical politics to, in an election season now, when this is an issue that you're being pressed on, to try and change your position on it and say, oh no, all along I have been for pre-existing conditions. Don't ignore my voting record. Ignore everything you've read about what the plans that I voted for would do. This is what I actually stand for. I think the people of North Texas deserve better than that.
That said, then, Mr. Allred, you favor protecting and expanding Obamacare as well as Medicaid. How so? How do you intend to pay for that?
Well, I believe that every American should have access to quality health care. I believe we must work our way towards that, and we have a crisis here in North Texas. We have the highest uninsured rate in the country, as we know, here in Texas. 20% of people in Dallas County don't have health insurance. We can do so much better than that. But we also need to be making sure we're lowering the costs for people immediately. I think one of the first things we can do in this next Congress is to work to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Medicare should be able to negotiate the cost of prescription drugs. It is the largest buyer of prescription drugs in the market. It buys 1/3 of all drugs. If it is able to negotiate, it will lower costs for all of us. And I believe we should have a Medicare buy-in for folks who are in the individual market, who want to have access to a low-cost, quality government option that will compete with private insurers, that will drive a virtuous cycle of competition, which will lower costs for all of us. There's only one of us on the stage who has put forward a plan to extend and expand health coverage, who believes that this is a critical issue, that when I talk to people, there's no issue that is more important to them. This, to me, is one of the most important issues facing our country, is how are we going to make sure, as we move forward, we control the cost of health care and expand coverage.
Congressman Sessions.
Well, Sam, to make that statement is outrageous. It is true that my friend here would be joining if Nancy Pelosi were to become Speaker. Be a part of HR 676, and in fact, I will let you draw your conclusion. Section 104, it is unlawful for a private health insurer to sell health insurance coverage that duplicates the benefits of anything in this act. It is complete health care. You need to understand that the world's greatest health care plan and what we have voted for over 50 times have given us an opportunity to dissect little bitty pieces of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. They have, President Obama signed 8 of the changes that accounted for over $80 billion worth of changes that needed to be made because the Affordable Care Act was not working. To say that we did not have an alternative would also be a misnomer. My plan has been available for over 2 years for people not only to think and see, but to understand. And it allows Obamacare to live, but it provides an option, not a mandate.
Congressman, you've said any immigration reform plan has to first secure the nation's borders. Is a border wall really an effective step towards that?
Sam, thank you very much. As a matter of fact, the people who live on the border and who work on the border, that are called the Border Patrol, they are ICE. They are people that protect our front lines on the north, south, east, and west. Unanimously asked Congress and all the candidates who ran 2 years ago to please help them from the dangerous impact and overrunning of the border. We find our agents, the men and women who are on the front lines, who are outgunned, outmatched, and the worst part of it is we have a law that is inviting people to this country. And a wall is important for us to have. Now, the wall that may have been pitched, and one that I believe that should take place, is one that actually would be, part of it would be high fencing, and part of it would be making it secure. We need to have operational control of our border to make sure that we protect the men and women to keep us from having not only roving cartels, but also people who come across that are being taken advantage of for bad reasons. We need to control our border. A country that does not control its border cannot control its own sovereignty. So I am a supporter of us securing our border.
Mr. Albright.
So that's a yes for the wall from the congressman.
Yeah,
And
that's a yes.
And I think that is exactly the wrong solution. It's a waste of money, it would be ineffective, and it would be a signal and a symbol that I think would hurt our international standing. We do need to secure the border, and there have been bipartisan solutions that have been put forward that have come out of the Senate with Republican votes from folks like John McCain, folks like Lindsey Graham, who signed on to it, that would have given us a comprehensive reform that secured the border, that increased funding for security at the border through high-tech means that actually would work, but also would provide a pathway to citizenship for those who are already here, who have not broken our laws, who are contributing to our economy, and who want to come out of the shadows. What we need is to have a comprehensive bipartisan reform. But the problem we've had is that there have been far too many hardliners in Congress, like Congressman Sessions, who have been unwilling to work with the folks in their party to reach a solution. This is an issue that Washington has created. It's a Washington issue. It's one that is affecting us here in Texas now because they've been unable to get the job done. That will change when I'm in Congress.
Mr. Allred, your website says you work to ensure that our law enforcement, including ICE, is equipped with the training and tools they need to keep our communities safe. Be specific about what that means and why that's enough.
Yeah. Well, to me, we have to invest in the programs that are working that help us secure the border, and those do not include a wall. So that means we should use technology. There are places where we have physical barriers in place, and that can be effective. But we are a nation of laws. We are a nation that has to be able to enforce those laws. For folks who are breaking the law or who are here and who are not contributing to our economy, who are not doing the right things, we have to find and have ways to remove them in a humane manner. And that's why we need to be investing in and providing oversight to the agencies that are responsible for that. I'm deeply concerned at how this Congress has ceded all responsibility and oversight over the executive branch. And we have a system of checks and balances for a reason, in which the Congress is supposed to appropriate and provide oversight of what the executive branch is doing. This Congress, under the leadership of Congressman Sessions and others, has refused to do that. And we have seen some abuses that I think should have been corrected. But that doesn't mean that those programs are incorrect. We are a nation of laws and we have to enforce them.
Congressman.
I'd like to say that Mr. Allred's trying to have it both ways. He's trying to have it both ways by ignoring that the men and women who are on the front lines are begging for this opportunity for us to listen to them and secure the border. When we secure the border, it would require that we would have legislation in Congress. Just 60 days ago, we had 2 specific bills that gave every single member an opportunity to find what they were for. We had a pathway that I voted for that was for a guest worker plan. A guest worker plan that would allow, from what I hear in the congressional district now for years, allowing every single person that was be here illegally to go through a process, to be able to come out of the shadows, as they say, to have a legal status, and to be able to work. Not one Democrat voted for that. Then we had the second, the same day, a different vote. I'm sorry, about 2 days later, that would allow every single member a chance to vote for a pathway to citizenship. A pathway to citizenship that not one Democratic member voted for. So they have had their opportunity. They have had their opportunity to have either way, and they chose. Not one Democratic member would vote for either option.
Congressman, also one more thing on the subject of immigration. The president this past week threatened to close the border, to use the military, in fact, to close the border with Mexico to prevent a caravan of migrants fleeing Honduras from entering the U.S. Is that logistically possible? Does the president have that authority? And quite frankly, is it the right thing to do?
Thank you. I am delighted that the president is taking action and believe that we have had tens of thousands of people who are not only coming up from Central America, but are traveling many times with children that should not be home by themselves. I believe that it is important that the president would use the attributes of foreign aid, would use the attributes of inducement, meaning that we would help the Mexicans. But the most important thing for us to remember is they claim that they are fleeing where they were from because of fear of their life. That fear is not in Mexico. That may have been the second or third country that they came to. They are here politically to take advantage of the United States of America. They are attempting to
Keep the comments.
They're attempting to take advantage of a law that would allow them to come and literally walk across the border and be a part of what is called catch and release. The United States of America must have an opportunity to expect that we will bring people and allow them to come to the United States following legal processes. And as we all know, the Republican Party is for a legal process, and that is why we're a part of allowing 1 million legal people to come to this country every year. That does not mean any other person that comes as a stowaway or that walks into this country that we would allow them this opportunity. We have to have a legal process to deal with that. And that is what the president is searching for.
Mr. Albright.
Well, this is why we need comprehensive reform that encapsulates both how we will secure the border, the funding for that, the mechanisms to make sure that we're able to do that, but also what we're going to do with folks who are already here. Because we can't have this piecemeal approach anymore, in which we have the president maybe saying one day, I'm upset, I'm going to close the border, or we have individual states trying to handle it. This patchwork system is simply not working. What I will add, though, is that we are a nation that has always accepted refugees. And when we have not, we have regretted it, and history has judged us for it. We need to have a due process system in which we're able to hear people out and come here without incredible fear for their life, which they can apply for refugee status, and if they're granted, make sure that we open our arms to them. That is part of our moral leadership in the world. And what we're doing right now is hurting that moral standing.
Thank you. Mr. Allred, regardless of where you stand on Brett Kavanaugh becoming a member of the Supreme Court, does the debate surrounding the sexual misconduct accusations against him, or as well as the Me Too movement, suggest or warrant Congress take action against sexual assault and harassment?
Well, Congress absolutely must take action to do everything we can to end this culture and this cycle that we've been locked in. And it also should begin with Congress. Congress has refused to take steps to clean up its own house, in which there are members of Congress right now who have had settlements paid out for actions that they have taken that we don't know about. Congress needs to open up its own doors first to make sure that we get its house in order. And then we need to make sure that we are working with the universities, working with local organizations, working with states and localities to do everything we can to combat all the issues that we're talking about that surround the Me Too movement, that surround sexual assault, that surround supporting survivors in the aftermath. And I am concerned when I see the President of the United States go after someone who came forward and said that she was sexually assaulted and try to use her as a joke to try and humiliate her. That makes it hard for other folks to come forward. And that, to me, is exactly the wrong thing to do.
Congressman.
Thank you very much. This is a very important question for the country. It's an important question not only in our own homes, but it's also an important question in our schools and in our workplace, in our general society. And I will tell you that I was disappointed with the processes that took place. This Supreme Court nominee has been vetted 9 different times, opportunities for people all across the country to understand who he was, to make their claims these 8 previous times. And I think it was unfortunate that it happened the way it did, where Senator Feinstein held the information, did not report that, and waited till the end. And I think that if we're going to address this issue, we need to understand that we've got to be forthright about all of us reporting things as they occur, reporting things 35 years later, when not even the people who we were told should remember did not remember it. I think that we've got to get to a point where we address this. I want to address one last thing. The gentleman implied that there was some bit of a cover-up by members of Congress or by the House of Representatives. Every single bit of those payments, allegations, or charges that were made were understood on a bipartisan basis and occurred on a bipartisan way. There were a number of Democrats and Republicans who forthrightly were accused, and I think it's very interesting that on both sides there were people who took money and then later decided to tell the story. That happened to Republicans and Democrats, so we have to figure out a new and better way to do that, because what happened is it wasn't just the person who was accused, it was the accuser that did not do well, and we've got to take care of people who are willing to make a claim so that they are not chastised or harmed either.
Congressman, the Violence Against Women Act expired September 30th, but Congress extended funding through December, reportedly to allow more time for discussion for both sides to reach a consensus. You voted against a reauthorization in 2013. Why, and is that still your position today?
Thank you very much. There have been 4 reauthorizations of this act since it was first passed in 1994. It has been funded